Since its release in the summer of 2013, the Moto X has struck me as my ideal smartphone. Solid performance, battery life that gets me through the day, and a body that is small enough to handle in one hand. But just how good is it? I've used the Moto X for about 4 months now, and I'm more than ready to share my thoughts. I want to start off with a big disclaimer. This is my device, and it is set up as such. This Moto X is rooted and running stock Android 4.4. I have a bunch of different customizations going on from apps like Exposed and Nova Launcher. I was thinking of undoing all of these for this video, but that didn't make much sense to me considering if I were to buy a new phone, I'm not going to keep it looking the same as it did from day one out of the box for my entire time with it. I tinker with every Android device I get, and that aspect itself could affect my opinion on that device. So I want to review it how I use it. That being said, let's do this thing. The specifications on the Moto X are as follows. It's got a 4.7-inch AMOLED display with a resolution of 1280 by 720, giving it 316 pixels per inch. Powering this is what Motorola has dubbed the X8 mobile computing system. Now this system contains 2 regular processor cores, 4 graphics processor cores, and 2 more low-power cores. Individually, all these cores are really the dual-core Qualcomm Snapdragon S4 Pro clocked at 1.7 GHz, the quad-core Adreno 320 GPU, and a natural language and contextual computing processor. This phone comes with 2 GB of DDR3 RAM and either 16 or 32 GB of non-expandable internal storage. Also included are the 2 megapixel front-facing camera, the 10 megapixel clear pixel camera, and a 2200 mAh battery under the non-removable back. Now I suppose I can't rightfully review a smartphone without even mentioning its call quality. As you can expect from any modern day smartphone, it's totally fine. I've never had a dropped call, and the sound quality on my calls is always top-notch, so you're good to go here. The design of the Moto X is really something you can't appreciate until you've held it in your hand for yourself. Motorola has done an excellent job designing it with ergonomics in mind. Despite having a 4.7-inch screen, the extremely minimal bezels keep the phone at a size that's not a lot larger than an iPhone. The curved back in combination with this easy grip woven finish makes this phone perfect for one-handed operations. And might I just mention that dimple. The buttons are easily accessible, however, I would have liked to have seen different placement for the headphone jack that's up top and the speaker which is on the back facing the rear. But these are minor complaints considering the industry is just now realizing it might be beneficial to change the standard location of these things. I initially scoffed Motorola for calling this design revolutionary, but I immediately took back what I said after I held this thing for myself. In a world full of 5-inch or larger smartphones, the Moto X stands out as a gem and what I believe to be the optimal size and shape for a smartphone. What else makes this phone truly unique is that you can freaking customize it for yourself. Through Motorola's Moto Maker website, you can design your very own Moto X, from the rear colors and materials, to the colored accents, and to even a personal engraving on the back. You can even choose a wooden back. The display here is one of my favorite parts of this phone, but it's also one of my biggest gripes. I'll explain. I love the fact that it's an AMOLED screen. Colors are at a good level of saturation, and black colors are literally black because those individual pixels can be turned off, which saves battery life in the long run and also makes it look better, in my opinion. Now, I love the 720p resolution. Sure, 1080p is always better, but I have no problem at all with 720p and a 300 or greater pixels per inch. My biggest gripe, however, comes from a slight color banding issue that can come with some AMOLED screens. When you're looking at a flat, solid color, you can see horizontal bands going across your screen. This is a very particular issue because it's only there if you look hard for it. I didn't notice it when I first got my device for about a week. Then someone pointed it out to me, and now I can't stop seeing it everywhere. However, I'm sure this is more of a personal problem because I'm weird and compulsive. The Moto X in general performs very well. As someone coming from a device with 1 GB of RAM, this thing is really quick and the near stock Android experience surely helps this. I don't experience any weird stalls or hiccups that I did even on other 2013 devices of the time. I can play my favorite games like Clash of Clans and Smash Hit without a sweat and without excessive heating from the device. The Moto X was released a little behind the competition, only offering a dual-core Snapdragon S4 Pro compared to the quad-core Snapdragon 600 offering at the time that other devices like the Galaxy S4 and HTC One were getting. But performance is no problem here for common tasks. Newer phones will blow this out of the water in benchmarks like Antutu, but when you have an experience as solid as this, you can easily forget those numbers. Battery life on the Moto X has been no concern for me, which is a pretty good compliment that I can give any mobile device these days. I have no problem getting through the day 8 a.m. to 11 p.m. with a solid 2 hours of screen on time. That AMOLED screen and other optimizations throughout the system really make this device power efficient, especially considering the fact that it houses a 2200 mAh battery, which was technically below average in size for other devices released last year. Now heading around back to the camera, this guy has been the point for a lot of criticism, and it's kind of rightfully so. Motorola claims that their 10 megapixel clear view camera will support better low light shots. However, I haven't seen any evidence to really back this up. The average shot from this camera is just alright. With the proper lighting, you can make some impressive shots. However, every time I try to shoot inside, I find that my images get very blurry very easily. The photos taken from this are just pretty plain, and colors are pretty dull. Don't get me wrong, it's good enough to grab some good shots of your dog for Instagram, but it's no substitution for a dedicated camera. The Moto X was released running Android 4.2.2, and as of this recording has been updated to version 4.4.3. The software here is essentially stock Android with a few features thrown in from Motorola. However, these few features set this device apart from all others. Active display is a huge improvement on the typical LED notification found on other smartphones, and my personal favorite feature of the Moto X. Instead of some blinking light that doesn't really tell you anything, active display illustrates on the screen what that notification is, whether it be a text, missed call, Facebook update, etc. Active display takes advantage of that AMOLED screen by only turning on the individual pixels required to illustrate that notification, so it's extremely power efficient because a good chunk of your screen is actually off. That contextual computing processor mentioned earlier detects when your phone is in your pocket and when it's in use. This way, when you pull it out of your pocket, active display will pop up a notification on that screen. It also works if your phone is laying face down and you just want to flip it up to see if you have any notifications. This core is also used in combination with the accelerometer to activate the camera at a quick double twist of your wrist. Then we have touchless control, which is the closest thing to an AI as you're going to get right now. It utilizes that natural language processor mentioned earlier to launch Google Now at the mention of the phrase, "Okay Google Now," without touching your device. You can literally use this phone without even taking it out of your pocket, if you're willing to yell at your pants. I use this feature all the time for playing songs while I'm driving and Googling random facts when my hands are tied. These simple features set the Moto X apart from all others and make it truly
Okay,
unique.
Google Now. Play Avenged Sevenfold.
Playing Avenged Sevenfold.
In conclusion, buy this phone. Between the software features, form factor, customizations, and generally low price a year after it's released, you can't go wrong. Now, prices are changing all the time, so I included a few links in the description below. It's also worth mentioning that the rumored successor, the Moto X Plus 1, will probably be announced very soon. If the leaks have any truth to them, this new phone is looking to be a lot larger, which is an immediate turnoff for me anyways. So maybe you want to wait and see what happens with that device before you make a purchase decision. Thank you very much for watching my first ever device review.